Hey guys, my name is Sean Lynch, and the video presentation that you're about to see is for our presentation 504 class, Educational Thinker, and for my educational thinker, I chose Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson's views on education were in many ways provocative for his time period. To be clear, these views were so advanced for his time period that he was really never successful at shaping the legislation regarding education. Of course, the reasons behind the unsuccessful endeavor are complicated and really beyond the scope of this presentation, but just because he wasn't successful in passing legislation regarding education doesn't mean his views have not had a profound impact on school governance. So if we are attempting to briefly summarize Jefferson's views on education, it would suffice to say that his views on education mirrored his views on the role of government in the United States. Now, if you look at the handout I made, you will see some quick notes about him. They are some of the bullet points to his contributions. And on the handout, you will see some of his background information for education, his own education, and the pretty cool points. The one, he entered the College of William and Mary at the age of 16. He was fluent in several languages, studied philosophy and mathematics, and one cool note that he did study law and passed the Virginia bar at the age of 23. That was back in 1767. So many of Jefferson's views on education were best explained in two particular pieces of work that he did. One drafted in his early career, and the other drafted after his retirement from public service. And in 1781, Jefferson wrote the only full-length book that he would publish in his lifetime, and that book was actually called Notes on the State of Virginia. So that book was a response to questions regarding Virginia that were asked of him by the secretary of the French delegation in Philadelphia. It covered a vast array of questions on really a lot of numerous topics, one of which being education. In those notes, as it's often referred to, Jefferson's outlined he outlined the fundamental root of his educational views, and while his views were numerous and complex, it is possible to summarize his ideas in two main points. First, for Jefferson, it was absolutely essential that education not be institution that is overly governed, but rather an institution that is locally controlled by the people of that area. And Jefferson knew that the last thing that American people wanted was a government that was basically bossing them around. So he knew that the free people deserved control over one of the most fundamental human rights, the right of education. Second, Jefferson believed that all children should receive at least 3 years of public supports instruction in the areas of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Jefferson knew that in order for an individual to be successful moving forward in any field, there had to be some fundamental and core knowledge that they must obtain. In fact, Jefferson was a proponent of continued education as well. But let's talk a little bit about the critics and maybe another view on Jefferson's belief. While Jefferson believed that education be scientifically based, another educational reform thinker, Robert Owen, believed that the curriculum should be efficient and effective, but not be based on scientific research. That the instruction should be more based on the children's interests, using object lessons, for instance, to create a child-centered classroom. The curriculum being that it should consist of reading, writing, arithmetic, natural science, geography, history, singing, dancing, and girls should be taught sewing and needlework. And he had a really overview, broad fields curriculum view of everything. So through observation, and through questioning, Owen found that he could assess the students' learning more efficiently, which brings up a great point. That well-rounded students are often looked at doing many things well. In today's environment, regarding the education, that would incorporate things like athletics, as well as the arts, co-curricular clubs, and community outreach. So Thomas Jefferson believed that education should be scientifically based. He described the curriculum that every school should teach in the following ways. Again, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and that the books that were used for instructing the kids should be only used from Roman, English, and American history. He believed that education should really advance both general and scientific knowledge and establish equality so that there is a more general diffusion of knowledge. So let's recap some of the major points to Jefferson's contribution and impact through his philosophy to education. At the bottom of the handout, you'll see some of those notes. He really impacted the public educational system by advocating for public education for all children in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He sought to teach all children how to read, write, and understand math. He really divided it into three groups. The primary group being ages 6 to 8, the intermediate being 9 to 16 years of age, and the university level 17 to 19 years of age. His idea really being the best of the best would rise to the top, and really the single best student being selected out of that intermediate school, then the top half of grammar school to really attend his university, the University of Virginia. He believed in a system ruled by people at the local level. He emphasized the literacy and the arithmetic for everyone, and a focus on history and the social sciences for those who continued their education. Jefferson believed that in order for a society to really be self-governed, it had to be educated and really free thinking.